Welcome to day 3 at the Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships in Ibaraki, Japan, Kamisu, Japan. This is Avril Tam, joined by Jonathan Santos. We are very excited to be at the pointy end, the very end of pool play in the mixed division here. We have Team China versus Team Singapore, both national teams, Jonathan.
Indeed, yes, and thank you for that warm welcomes. And yes, this is going to be an exciting matchup. Top teams of their pool. And it's something you're going to watch out because it will determine how their road to the playoffs will look like. The road to gold, rather. As you see, as Singapore will start here on defense. We're off to the pull.
A nice floaty one to start as well, giving the defense plenty of time to set up. So China, disc in hand, flies it up lovely to Nuert. And so just managing to pin China back at the moment. They'll get another one again. Number 20 Nuert certainly working hard cutting under.
It looks like, I thought it was a match. It looks like it's going to be a match person defense so far.
Oh, and a quick bladey flick into the end zone. What a quick score for Team China getting on the board.
Amazing read there. And that was Han Jun Pan with the score. Quick points as they move into their first point here against Singapore. Again, really surprised. Well, I mean, first time to be able to see the China team, and they're showing a strong performance so far in this tournament, winning 15-1 against the under-24 team, 15-8 against Odense, and latest game is 15-9 against the Brisbane Knights. So they've been steamrolling their pool so far.
Yeah, China's certainly a dominant force. I have to say they've really come quite a long way in the recent years, sending multiple teams to the World Ultimate Championships in the Gold Coast and then putting on a good showing. Obviously, the host of the World Games only a few weeks ago in Chengdu put together a strong performance. Didn't look out of place competing against the top teams.
Indeed, and it seriously is worth considering how this team is going to perform through this mixed division, this very highly contested mixed division, Avril, as they start their first D-line here. And we'll take a look at see how they would show their own defense and see. And looks like it's going to be an early zone defense, Avril, so far.
Yeah, interesting. They're trapping to the sideline, but the first throw Singapore do really well to break the mark.
But great way to attack and see a little bit tighter on the marking between the Cubs, but as just said, that sneaks that through Singapore does.
So Singapore relying on their handlers. They traditionally do use a bit of a weave in the 3-back.
But I can see it's noticing from China that there's more conscious effort. Oh, but just great movement, swinging it right inside. Not swinging it, but punching it through there, Avril.
Yeah, Singapore very happy to use small ball. Not afraid to throw lots of passes. And Che and Cho working together well. They're halfway up the field now. So again, quite static from downfield, but positioning themselves very well. Again, moving up so fast. Clean holds both teams to start.
Excellent showing from both ends, but here on end, Singapore punches in their first score.
Both teams' offenses looking very, very smooth. And also very quick, I think. Both very speedy teams, John.
Great, and just when you thought they're going to be slowed down by China's zone defense, great response for the throw and run, so to speak.
So you see on the replay here, initially using small ball to move their way through the cup, as you see. And a nice overshot, cheeky little scuba there to Che, but he positions himself perfectly close to that wing. And then a nice way to jump it in to finish.
We'll see how this progresses. We'll see how Singapore also responds if they're going to showcase. We've been witnessing their team play throughout the stream. And they've been really showcasing their zone defense throughout each division. So I won't be surprised if they can showcase their own zone defense for Singapore here, Avril.
That's a very impressive pull by Deborah Lee. Makes China start all the way from the back. So Singapore with a trusty zone defense.
And here we go. It looks like an all-women cup so far to start out, and a great pass there just right on top. I think China recognizes the great height difference, so they're going to just try to send those passes over us. I guess she said it right there. Cheeky pass.
And Nua being involved in every play at the moment. Quickly, China, they're free. 1-2, 1-2 up the field before the defense can catch up. Nice fakes to move the cup. They now settle back.
This is something to witness from Singapore.
And quickly, Dong on the doorstep now. And a cheeky little jump in. That is Pan Han-jun for... Oh, not quite in, not quite in. And so Singapore sticking with their zone defense, but nice slice through the cup there. And they are open and away on that break side. China. Oh, no, not in, but then just a replay, I think. So very quick travel call. And then, quickly, no stoppage, gets the disc going again.
And I was just going to say that, this is usually what Singapore does, right? They're going to stick to the zone defense until the end, just really trying to trust on that system, and China just punishing them on that end zone play. And that was actually Han-jun Pan again with his second score in this point. So some player there, they're going to watch out as this game progresses.
Yeah, Pan Han-jun coming into this game with 6 assists and 4 goals. So definitely near the top of the leaderboard. I think the O-line ticking away very well for China so far. But yeah, interesting in terms of the strat here. Both teams looking to move the disc very quickly. I don't think there's many passes beyond stall 2, stall 3. And also very disciplined, I think. It's like when there's no upfield option, looking for that around dump and using the width as well.
Yeah, I think just taking advantage of the weather, right? Yes, it's raining hard, but no wind at all. So let's look if they're going to stick with that zone defense here.
So Ho moving to Chu to Chio on the far side. Very spread out. Again, Singapore just relying on the 3 handlers. And they work it up field, but not too many meters gained. Now there comes some cut through the middle. Cho, that's a nice shot. Overcommitment by the defense. Cho moves it around on the doorstep. That is an easy open side throw. Singapore, smooth as you like.
Smooth like butter there, Avril. Amazing one side to the other side action there. Once you were able to punch it through there, you can see the smiles from number 67 there. Amazing performance so far from Singapore.
Yeah, Denise Bay with the score. Sasi Abdallah with the assist. So both teams looking very nice on offense at the moment. So it's interesting, I guess, early days, you're still feeling each other out. You're still working out, okay, who are the players you might need to shut down, what positions you like to attack. And like we said, just moving side to side until they wait for this upfield throw. That was a really nice shot there. And then a really nice low release. Overcommitment by the defender opens up an easy shot from Cho to Chur. Then they use the field width nicely.
It looks like there's a conscious effort from the China team there. We're doing a flat mark and a little bit of sort of a poaching defense there on the handlers, trying to just force that swing perhaps, but to no avail there. Singapore able to just punch it through. Yeah,
they held it back initially, but couldn't hold it the whole way through. I think after the overcommitment by the defense as well. So very static. Oh, that was a very close opportunity for a block.
Just looking here, look like some of the female players from Singapore trying to jump into that middle portion of the field, just forcing that 1-2 against the handlers, but China doing really well.
To move it up, yeah. A travel call. So players will reset. So again, both China and Singapore with the offense, the handlers are very much isolated in the downfield, very, very far away. I've noticed that number 20, Nua, has been the one providing most of those undercuts, a lot of the disc moving through him.
Here we go again with China going back. It's still that same kind of a poachy defense in the middle.
Oh, and that's a high shot. A little bit of a bobble, but Dong brings it down. Looking upfield, but very far away. Again, we've got Liu now with the disc.
Again, they're just having confidence, just throwing that pass right on top of the defenders. Singapore team does.
So he fakes off a couple of open undershots. Instead, goes for the big body of Nua in the end zone this time, sneaking deep. Nu with a big frame there. Very big presence, John.
Indeed, Neuer has been spectacular in terms of reading that pass. Neuer, who's one of the oldest players in this club, 30 years old, or 30 years young, I would say. Actually, team captain for Naja, playing for 4.5 years, right? And also one of his highlights is being selected for the WOC 2024 roster for China team. So good to see his performance.
Yeah, very interesting. I did have a brief look at the Chinese rosters of recent times. Neuer being the only representative from this team who was present at World Ultimate Championships in Gold Coast last year. And the World Games roster as well, none of them featuring in this national team. So obviously a lot of competition for spots.
And here I think just looking at how China teams looking, Neuer is actually the leading goal getter for China with 10 goals around in this tournament. And that's being led by an assist on the other hand, Chen Yefan with 10 assists in this tournament.
I think it's a good response from defense, recognizing that Neuer was coming under quite a lot, getting a lot of discs, and then forcing him long. But obviously, him showing that he's able to get it long too.
Regardless, I guess for him, he's going to get that disc as we get back here.
That's right. So Xu to Chiu again, that handler weave. Moves a nice gainer upfield. Cho had power position, but no cutter connecting. Tells Chu to clear, so she hits. Now the disc with Cho.
Very comfortable Singapore is from the side-to-side action, just looking for that backhand loopy pass.
They're quite happy to do that little dump behind and then swing. Oh, then that's a beautiful inside there. Again, working through the handlers. They move up their bit, and that's a sweeping. Oh, that was a fantastic bid in the air, full extension. But the disc just too fast and far, and that is the first turnover of this game.
First turnover at that, and I think what's really amazing was, I think the pass was just too high, but I think rightly where they wanted to go for as terms of positioning.
Oh, and a huck, a flat, fast. Is that one going to be G? Yes, it will be, and that's a fantastic G by Bei Shihui, batting the disc away. So we take a breath as the flurry of turns here, John, after a very clean game to start. And Chu now moves it. Oh, and that's an intercept block there. Number 6, Chen Yefan. Can the D-line settle here for China? That was a very close bid by Che. Low grab, lays out to make sure of it by Zhang.
And you can sense the intensity rising here for both teams with the layouts and physicality and athleticism rising up.
Yeah, players on each other's hips there. Not much space to speak of. Squeezing this shot. That is a lovely inside break. Can they convert this break opportunity? Pivots. And that's a very cheeky push past flick. Number 6, Chen Yefan with the first break for China.
Amazing display of passing there. As you can see, ripping it through with those easy passes. But again, China showcasing they can definitely hang with the best in Asia and Oceanic region so far.
Ooh. So it was so interesting, like those first few clean holds, everyone looked really settled on offense, but Singapore, you know, just that pressure from China, really tight match defense on their hip, reading those plays. I think, you know, there's a fair bit of footage from Singapore teams in recent years. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been reviewing the cutting patterns and the movement, being able to anticipate where they want the disc next. And that opened a couple of opportunities for the block. But great work both ways, but that's one up by the China D-line.
You can see all the smiles from the China mixed division team as they're happy to really stamp their dominance in their pool play so far.
And interestingly, Singapore have actually opted to put on their D-line, I believe, to get this offensive point going. So giving the O-line a little bit of a break, potentially have a bit of discussion to reset, but moving it across to Zhou.
Ooh, that's a tight pass there, Avril, but able to just secure it for Singapore.
Yeah, and this is kind of zone, quite a loose kind of cup, John.
Yes, kind of a loose cup, as you can see. Just really wanted to swing down, but you can see there's a lot of focus on the middle portion of the field, trying to deny any forward pass or momentum.
Yeah, so Singapore having to use a small ball. And I like the fakes. They are moving this cup to create holes.
I think that's their adjustment, right? They're recognizing how loosely the cup is, so they're going to do the throw and run to try to open it up, as you can see there.
Yeah, or like you just saw, that little overhead just over the heads of the players. Oh, and that's an intercept block! A lot of contact there. So Dong with the intercept, Ho also in the space, but they say there's no court, play on. So what a way to get big, Dong Tian Ti.
Amazing presence, and it looks like a score at that. China.
D-line of China, 2 breaks in a row, asking the questions of Singapore. They are off to a fast start.
Indeed. You can see there, number 14, showcasing all the smiles so far. And that is, again, Pan Han Jun, leading the pack for China.
So interesting, maybe China mixing up their lines a little bit. So, yeah, like I said, that wasn't really Singapore's usual offensive line. So they put a D-line on, trusting them to get the defense done. But just too good a block here by Dong. You see the cup really adjusting well. So they start off quite loose and then they start to come closer as the stall count rises. And that does force Singapore to have to adjust and keep moving. Again, all these small passes, but not much gain with the continuation. So having to jump backwards here, and yeah, you can see really, I like the movement by China. Arms up, arms low, moving back, moving forward, just to make sure that there's always different looks, and eventually they bait a slightly longer throw by Singapore.
We'll go back to it here, but let's see how it goes in the action so far. And again, this ball will sail out, so it will be starting on the brick mark. Just noticing there again from Singapore, they were doing well attacking that loose cup. Just felt on that last pass before the turnover. Could have waited a little longer for her teammate to come align on the handler space to be able to execute that pass. So I just felt a little bit adjustment on the execution and timing of the pass can be the key for Singapore's response against zone defense.
So Singapore again on offense, and they get a nice gainer here. China with a match defense look this time. Moves it upfield to Lee. Again, the open side working really well for them. Dumps it across to Lee. And another nice around dump, a little high, but jumped and collected by Chu. And they go for a quick score of their own to Chu. Chu to Chu now. So Singapore, a nice settling offensive hold.
And it's good to see there. I think that's a good response for Singapore, being able to, say, simmer it down as terms of turnovers and trying to just be calm and collected and respond in kind.
You're absolutely right, Jonathan. I think you got to remain really poised and controlled. You know, the first day 1, day 2, this is day 3 where we get into the nitty-gritty of it. And, you know, there will be starting to be some fatigue in the legs as well, especially the teams that have travelled. You know, the legs getting a little weary, so being able to make sure that you remain focused and controlled despite, you know, long points and physically feeling, you know, a little bit under is really key to getting up here.
And just here with the Singapore mixed division team, most of the players that we can notice are coming from the zero displacement team and also Freak Show, so a little bit combination of 2 premier Singapore teams, right? And also a lot of experience from international level. A couple of players played in the under-24 World Championships and even in the Woguk 2016 as well. So a lot of international experience with the Singaporean division team, mixed division team.
Yeah, and lots of success as well. I think the program has really blossomed in the last few years. Some very good results in the under-24s, obviously coming second in 2023 and then 4th in the most recent cycle. And a cheeky hammer up top to Nu'er, who else? But that one is intercepted, although there will be a call. That was Jovin Chong, who thought he got the block here on Nu'er.
See the discussion, and you can see the game advisor slowly marching in to provide, if asked upon, his feedback or his point of view. looks like they're going to ask for some conversation between Newer and Chong.
So contested foul here, like the hand signals used by the players, so we know exactly what's going on. But yeah, definitely a good time for Singapore to step up their defensive pressure.
And the wind is slightly picking up now, so we'll see how the zone defense can become more successful for Singapore. It looks like they're going to stay to a match person defense. And
again, another foul called. I think Newer just saying, look, that contact's a little bit heavy, Chong, mate. Just take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill at that, but I think knowing what's at stake really here, Avril, is how it looks like for the road to playoffs. So
yeah, a lot to play for, as you say, John. So just faking the long, finding a nice gap, but that gap was too small, unable to find the intended receiver. So after a couple of bids by Joven Chong, they do eventually get the D.
And it's going to be huge for Singapore to be able to limit the gap or decrease the gap here so far.
As they look on that far sideline, squeezing it up the open side. Ho, score count rising, gets it off. Ong, and there is a pick downfield. And so this is prime opportunity. So China went up 2 breaks in a row. Singapore very keen to peg one back. Looks like the pick is resolved. So just staying with the vertical stack structure here when they're getting closer to the end zone. Singapore staying nice and patient for now, waiting for the holes to open up. Ho with the disc. Doesn't like the first look, goes for the second. Chong, not much room. Number 1 on number 1. Who will come number 1 in this game? Still close. Oh, so many bodies trying to race to that front cone, and there is a foul called.
Oh, just seeing there, no giving up from China, trying to deny that score at the end zone.
Tapped in. The dump clears out. Go a creative inside-out flick. Ho still on the doorstep.
The wind is picking up, which is making it more difficult for Singapore to punch in that score.
There's a lot of movement in that stack. Everyone cutting at the same time. Singapore really need to stay disciplined and a little bit more coordinated with those downfield cuts.
But that previous pass, very spicy there, especially trapped on that farther sideline.
Yeah, it was like an inside-out flick, but wide dump, wasn't it? So back into the action. 1-2, Chong to Ho. Goes a lovely around backhand for the score. Deborah, Kristen Lee, they do peg one of the breaks back, and Singapore D-Lions finally start revving up.
Amazing response there by Deborah Christine Lee. Definitely 10 years of experience paying off here for her, be able to get that score and narrow the gap between these two teams. Just looking at, as mentioned, whoever comes out on top of here will go to the second bottom half of the playoff pool here, and whoever loses will go against the top-heavy, possibly top-heavy playoff matchup where Philippines and Akala will belong there. So pretty much that's something in the back of their minds as they continue to battle it out in this pool play.
Yeah, you definitely want to finish as high as you can to try and get a more favourable matchup in that quarterfinal. But not only that, sometimes, which half do you end up in terms of that will determine your semi-final opponent. And so I'm sure both of these national teams wanting to do their nations proud.
Indeed for that, especially for China. I would say a very young ultimate nation as they are now slowly cracking into the scene. As you can see with their 3-0 poll action so far, poll record so far. So exciting to see this nation. And on the other hand, Singapore, as we all know, a veteran country in terms of success as far as ultimate frisbee is concerned.
Yep, and we have China coming out on offense. Driven backwards, through the cut, but that one was a miscue. And the Singapore D-line Now with the shot.
And that's excellent zone defense from Singapore, forcing that turnover. So see how they can take care of it.
So just the two handlers working back. Continuations now offered and taken. Chong for the little dump. They're just waiting very patiently. The cutter's working well downfield, coordinating. Fakes a couple of those lefty backhands and then goes a backhand. That is 2 breaks to pick it back. Andy Cho with the score.
Singapore here pumped up to get their second break. Number 27, proud and loud for Singapore. Andy Teo, Ru Xing. Definitely more on the defensive side, playing with Freakso since 2013, and definitely passionate about loving the sport more and more each day, as he said it. So just excellent showing from him and his team so far.
Very impressive patience here, and I like the coordination of the cuts. They kind of had one clear cut from the stack each time here. Now waiting for the upline strike, so difficult to defend. And Singapore, their zone D paying dividends here. Probably one of their most favourable defensive looks. Just forces the error from China. So some small momentum swings here, John. China D-line getting up 2 breaks straight, but Singapore picking them back pretty quickly.
And I think as the wind is starting to pick up, if you're noticing in the microphones all across the field, the zone defense will definitely play a huge part now for Singapore, and you know how can they be very strong with that zone defense they have.
Yeah, as you say, the wind is the 8th defender, and really at the moment the wind is coming from towards your screen basically. So it's a crosswind. So it'll be interesting to see if the teams decide to force a certain way to force throwing errors.
Definitely agree, as we have a strong 362 viewers in the stream. Right, well played by both teams, as Samuel says, as we get back to the action here.
So China with 4 handlers back now against the 3 defenders in that front wall. Quite happy to pass to and from. Now they fly through, and that is a bid from both players. China comes up with a fantastic effort there.
But forcing the issue, Singapore does, to make that almost a turnover there.
Liu, after that amazing layout grab after deflection, manages to stay composed to control that bubble catch. You can see Cher here, who's really just baiting them to throw to the underspace. He's ready there, but the Chinese player's well positioned to receive and find those holes.
But I can see those passes becoming more difficult to execute now. So let's just see how it goes here.
So China still sticking with the 4 handlers in the backfield. Oh, that's a floaty option. Luckily, they communicate and coordinate that one. It could have gone right. Dong moves it up. Oh, they managed to break through and make some meters. Dong again with the disc. Seems to be the Axis handler on this line. Not much movement upfield, so has to opt for the backwards dump.
Gotta get it more tighter, and that's an excellent from the cop, being able to stop that forward, but just I said that.
A lot of heat from the defense there. Liu managing, again, asking a lot of her, but coming up trumps each time. Dong now, again, very heavy mark. A lot of contact, diving bodies everywhere. But Zhou dumps back to ever reliable Dong. Zhou's been very crafty in that space in front of the disc as well, finding holes. And there they go, almost now on the doorstep. Liu.
So many bodies there.
Oh, a crowd of bodies. That was the first time Liu did not come up with the disc. And this is another opportunity for Singapore.
3rd consecutive turnover for China.
And a travel called as they get things underway. Cher, power position. And he does throw with power. Looking for Ho. Outstretched hand. Not quite in. Just waiting for the cavalry to arrive. Oh, very cheeky low backhand break that hits Deborah Lee for the score. Can you believe it, John? 3 breaks straight.
3 breaks straight indeed for Singapore. It looks like that was, I mean, I was kind of a little bit expecting that to happen for China, as those very difficult and laser passes might be too hot to handle at some point there, Avril.
Yeah, I have to say kudos to Liu Yiman, number 11 for Team China. She was catching everything under so much pressure. Just that very last pass in the end zone was the only one that she bobbled. But I also have to say, strategically, from a Singapore side, they brought across number 33, Raymond Cher. He's usually on their O-line, but you saw him patrolling that space just in front of the disc. And he was diving, bodying, putting lots of pressure on those passes just through the cup. And I think that was part of the reason why that pressure just continuing to build as the point evolved, and that pressure in the end just caught up with China in the end zone.
It's like we have a timeout that's going to be called here.
Yeah, no surprises. I think China, after getting broken 3 times, you definitely want some touch. And here we go, Cher on the dive, Liu for the catch. I think she saved 3 or 4 discs for her team there. And this was the last one, the only one she didn't manage to get her hands around. As you said, very crowded space. And a huge grab here by Ho, trailing edge. Very difficult grab in the wet. And then look at this very, very cheeky shot to score. Just ducks under the hand of Neuer. And Deborah Lee in the spot to score. So Singapore very pleased.
Took a little while for them to be able to score it in, as 44 players from Singapore. But finally they punch it in there for Singapore. Again, China, this is the first time we've seen China being rattled in this early game as the first half of this amazing mixed division pool play.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, the momentum shift, right, in terms of China getting the 2 breaks to start off with, but Singapore absolutely lit a fire under the belly, and the D-line coming up. 3 breaks.
3 breaks indeed. So Singapore, momentum now moving into their side now. So let's just see how China responds so far.
Yeah, hopefully this timeout has given them a chance to reset, but oh, that's a very long pull, too long in fact, and goes out the back into the bushes. And so they have to try and retrieve the disc from the branches of the trees out the back there.
Probably the wind has played a huge factor there, but just imagine if that just landed at the backside of the end zone. So props from Singapore to try to make that pull a success, but we'll start here at the break mark for China.
Yeah, the wind kind of changed direction now, going slightly left to right of your screen. So having to adapt to the changing winds in the wet.
And again here, zone defense presented by Singapore. This will be C, 79. I think it's a great decision to put him in the cup here with his long hands there to really bother any of that 1-2 play that China can make.
Yeah, that big mark, absolutely, just limiting a lot of those small passes. And I think the Singapore zone defense coordinates so well. There's a call on field.
But you can see there, Avril, great communication with the zone defense. Looks like when they're trapping on that sideline, their force is no dumps at all. So you just rather want to trap it there. And if someone's going to crash into that cup, you can see Singapore players already bunch into that to just deny that easy dump. So excellent zone defense so far.
Yeah, just taking the time. I wonder if it's a double team call, John, here.
Probably it would be the double team, but we'll return back to play here for China.
Yeah, so Singapore trying to trap on that sideline, and China struggling to get it off, having to move backwards. Lots of faking. Eventually they squeeze one upfield. Still stuck on this sideline. They didn't throw that around to try and get on the fat side of the field.
A lot of bodies there from Singapore, just really making it difficult for China to gain any forward momentum.
Yeah, and the stall counts keep rising, and that's unfortunate injury call, looks like. I think she got cleated on the foot.
Oh, nothing too major as he's holding at her ankle or foot.
Like you said, the amount of bodies in there, not very much space to go into at all.
But I think you can sense, I would say, the desperation from Singapore to really try to increase the intensity. They don't want to put China back in as far as momentum goes. The wind is picking up slowly.
Well, slowly or quickly, John, it's suddenly come up with a gust.
Indeed. And as you can see, everyone
doing their best to protect all of the expensive AV equipment to bring this stream to you live.
we really appreciate all the hard work that volunteers are doing here so far.
So China still pinned on that sideline. Finally, they get a shot out through Zhang, but they again do what the Singapore zone are trying to force them to do.
And I think they're just using the weather here. They know that those long passes are not an option anymore. So that's why they're junking.
Oh, here we go. Long shot. She called out, and that's a fumble by Zheng Yating. Oh, so they really baited that option, didn't they, John?
As I mentioned, yes, correct. That's what the pro they want, and that has the result that they wanted to happen.
Moving up quickly, attacking that midfield. And nice control by Chong now to go. Not much movement, so waits for the handler dump. And Singapore slowly inching their way upfield. Can this be a fourth break? Or cheeky inside flick to the break side. Completely unmarked. Ooh, didn't look for that break option. I thought they might take full advantage. Oh, cheeky high release. I think that might have been a push pass. Singapore loving the creative throws, showing that wind is not a factor. So Chong, oh, how did he get so free there? I thought there might have even been a pick goal, but in the end, Neven Sier comes up with disc. Break 4 straight.
4 straight. Amazing response from the excellent defense of Singapore. Again, just really impressed by how they recognized the strong winds and knowing that the long passes will be denied as we look at the replay. The excellent play from Singapore.
Yeah, so Chong, Ong proving themselves to be very reliable D-line handlers. That's what you want from your D-line handlers when they've got plenty of disc. You want them to make safe 100% options, John.
Yep.
And Chong, Ong have worked really well, and Ong really working hard. Big frame as well, big pivots, getting around the big marks of the Chinese players.
And I think that's and to your point, right, why they looked off that break side pass early in the end zone. I think they just really wanted to be really 100% sure about what is the excellent pass to make, as they want to take care of each of those turnovers, the break opportunities rather.
So Singapore running away a little bit with this game, looking to try and take half quickly. And as we've mentioned on the stream earlier days, Singapore not traditionally known to be a windy city, but certainly showing that wind is not a problem at all.
And this will be Galaxy Point, an important one at that, as China. Apologies for that, but yes, it will be a very important point rather, where
a point to take half.
Correct,
yes.
point to take half.
But it's interesting, like we kind of touched on earlier that that Team China certainly have a little bit more height than Singapore. You can see it's very clear mismatch in height here between the mark and the thrower. But I think the speed of the disc movement, and goes a big shot up with a high stall count. Oh, comes down with it, does Daryl Ho, and there is a call on the throw. So Dong, thinking he might have been infringed, is a foul call.
But excellent defense marking from that to force that last second throw. But the discussion now is the foul. As you look at the replay.
Very nice positioning by Daryl Ho. As we mentioned, Nuo, very, very big frame and big presence in the air. So Ho did very well to hold his space and actually catch that block. But 3v33, doubling up on this time to resolve this call. Yeah. And Raymond Sher has been playing point after point after point. They've been asking a lot of him, I think. So he's been very effective with converting a lot of these breaks. And we get a fantastic shot, and there may be a little bit of contact on that throwing arm as it comes through on the follow through. Question is, will it be? Okay, so it looks like the play will stand. Retracted call. So again, Singapore D-line moving things up.
a little bit too low for her taste, and just like that, a turnover cost.
So China O with another shot here. Liu. And there's going to be a chat. So Che again on the mark. China finding it very difficult to get through him.
Noticing there's a lot of in-between chatter now about the physicality so far. Notice on the earlier point with Nur. Now here, same as well.
And a hammer shot in the wind. That's going to float all the way back. But Nur catches that in bounds. Emphatic spike. China back on the board. 6-7.
Oh, just a spicy throw at that. Oh, I mean, hammer at this type of weather, Avril, is just...
Very ambitious. Very ambitious. That's an absolute trust throw if we've seen one.
But I think that's being caused by the intensity and the defense being presented by Singapore, forcing those kind of throws. Like, if you're Singapore, you'd still stay happy in terms of, look, we're making them throw these uncharacteristic throws, right? Passes. So we're going to live with the results with that, right? Those 50-50 balls, I think the only thing is try to get those 50-50 balls and be able to convert it.
And that's actually Nua's first goal of this game. Sorry, second goal of this game. I think he's seemingly involved in every single score, obviously mostly in that downfield, in that cutting space under. So if he can assert himself on this game, they might have a chance of trying to peg, a break or two back. Just like Raymond Che has really been inserting himself on this game, as you see him providing a huge mark to really force some of those high-risk throws from Team China.
And see how China responds. Looks like, let's see how their zone defense looks like. So it looks
They're also
3, correct. A little bit, almost a D there, but
quick 1-2 through the cup. Singapore racing away, and they now use the width of the field. A very nice breakthrough and a swing to get off that trap sideline.
they can see a little bit of there's a lot of things happening in the middle for the zone teams in China. And now, quickly, Singapore has to go back.
I think Singapore being very mindful. They do not want the disc to be forced on that far sideline, the trap side. They much prefer to have this high side to work with. And you can see here with the disc. Singapore, their skills on the disc at the moment showing up very well, able to move it side to side without too much pressure.
And here you go, this great display of patience being shown.
Getting off the sideline. Look at how disciplined they are. You know, like they know when they get trapped, they want to go back and swing. So the person in that dump space is spaced really well back, and then that continuation swing comes. And that's why they can really work that Chinese defense, make them move side to side.
And I like how they're using their fakes really to open up that cup that forces them to make that easy swings here.
And we have a nice little run up from Doreen Sim there. Working hard. I like the cycling as well from the Singapore players. Oh, that's a beautiful step through the cup. And Singapore surely going to score this. Yes, they do. They make it look so easy.
Clinical approach. If you're an upcoming team and like to know how to respond against a zone defense, better watch that point, as that was a clinical display of offense by Singapore. And that was number 47, Chelsea Wen Lin.
Yeah, Xiao there, very pleased. I think, oftentimes in the zone offense, it's the handlers and the cutters that get a lot of the credit for the work, right? We're calling their names a lot. But in fact, the wings have a really big job. So Sue was out on this close side wing. Her constant movement, making sure she kept her defender accountable. Yep, and that's how, the defenders had to choose to come under or cover her deep. They said, oh, you're not at risk, which is that I'm going to make me a target. And so, yes, I think the hard at work rings deserve a shout out here, forcing the defense to spread out and have to cover and try to continue adjusting, and that she gets a nice, well-deserved score for her troubles. So, Singapore, very impressive way to take that first half. Managed to get 4 breaks in a row and a clean hold now to finish off. Really keen to see what we have on the other side of this half, John. Singapore up 8-6.
plugged in, but I think it was like messed up with the water. So now I'm on Bluetooth.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say that you didn't hear, and I was surprised that you weren't doing it in this particular It's like, no. Is just keeping your cameras stopped out.
Oh, yeah.
welcome back to the tail end of pool play. This game, Singapore versus China, to determine who rules the roost in Pool B. Singapore coming up trumps, ending this first half with 4 breaks and a hole to boot. But China showing that they have come here to play, getting 2 early breaks up on Singapore.
Indeed, Alfred, and I think it's just X from the first half, something to pick up. It's just Singapore just really did well with their zone defense.
And Singapore working things up. This time they've gone for 2 handlers back and 3 in a vert stack. Not a combination we're used to seeing. But either way, they're making it work fairly well. A nice gainer there, getting on the ground. Nice lefty backhand there. Dump across. Pointing, waiting, around, breaking. And Singapore slowly, patiently working it up. Cho with disc in hand. Squeezes it up. And just waving his arms. That's a high release flick. Sorry, high release back to the break side, but a pick is called. So it does feel like it's been a while since we've seen the Singapore O-line on pitch.
Indeed, yes. And just patience play throughout for Singapore. And here we go and see if they can inch closer to a score.
And it goes for a repeat of the high release backhand, but there's a call in the stack.
Looks like a violation prior to the pass.
Violation.
So it looks like why it's going to be returned back to the Singapore handler here.
It does make sense. I thought it might have been another pick, and I was wondering why the play didn't stand. But this will remain, and the Singapore team in a 1-6 formation. So singular vertical stack, and maybe some translation assistance now, working out where the positioning is.
See, take a moment, short break here as both of these teams now discussing about this play.
And gusts of wind now, John.
Exactly, and hopefully people on the field stay safe, especially the volunteers throughout the field. But yes, the wind is starting to pick up.
So I think with some translation assistance, whatever the call was has been resolved. Just comes back in again. Third time of asking, and that one is completed without incident with the disc. Nice shot up to Chio. Slippery in hand, but slides through. Oh, and a lovely low release backhand there on the doorstep, and they do convert that. So Singapore starting their second half very cleanly in this big pool play match.
Indeed, you can see that small ball featured impressively by Singapore. And they're just running through in this second half of the game.
It's interesting to see slightly different offensive formation for Singapore. I'm so used to seeing their classic, 3 handlers back in the weave and then the upfield slightly deeper, but it's nice to see something a bit different. They went for, I guess, a kind of more classic vert stack 2 handlers back and then 5, and then later when they got into the red zone of 1 and 6, in the end it opens up the, I guess, open side spaces that you can attack and can use both sides of the field.
Indeed. And that would be number 6, Isaac Tan, with the score. Interesting to see, again, how Singapore is. Are they going to bring out this? I won't be surprised because
Zone.
Yep,
Zone, trap,
100%.
sideline. Zone, trap, sideline, yeah.
Correct. If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? If you're Singapore. And you can see, expecting with the lineup, I can see there, definitely with number 79 from Singapore. Probably he's going to be part of that first wall or cup.
And even see very tall, big frame as well. But it is a team effort here. China starting in a horizontal set. So it's got 3 players back. And they do have a 4th here on the side. Liu, they can see just sneaking there on that far sideline. They do go through her now.
I'm loving there's a different thing. Oh, great pass there, inside out.
They've got past the first wall and they're off through the races, but there is a travel called.
I'm liking a different set of players here in the cup for Singapore, giving new bodies here. So fresh legs, so to speak, as we see number 69 Abdullah. First time seeing here on this point for Singapore.
So China doing good work to kind of bounce. So throwing to one person and then throwing back. Points to where he wants it. So everyone's gone upfield now. They need some reinforcements backwards. Dong obliges. And he goes a big option. Who else is he looking for but Nu Er? And that one is just out of reach. So the Singapore defense able to frustrate China into a high-risk option.
Just looking at that quickly, great communication within that cup. Seeing that Abdullah tried to stop the dump and their female teammate stepping in and putting in that position where Abdullah left. So great communication there.
So 1-6 stack again here for Singapore. Oh, and a high release lefty backhand to use this break side. Now on the close sideline, fakes a big, opts for the under, and a nice 1-2 power position, balance throw. Oh, and a deep Liu at the last line of defense. What a way to get possession back for Team China.
Denied by China. Last minute bid successful.
Liu has done a ton of work on offense, showing that she's got the defensive skills as well. And a nice high release. They work their way out of trouble, China. Work through this first cup. Now waiting for things to set. And a cheeky bladey forehand there to Nu Er. And second bladey forehand to the exact same space there. Drops nicely on this close sideline. And a hammer this time. Nu Er, the target, jumps a bit early, but stays with the disc to get it and gives it a kiss to celebrate. China back on the board, 7-9.
And that was China's response, where they didn't want to let the zone defense of Singapore set up, right? So you see those quick passes, just looking at those spaces that was being left open by Singapore, right? So impressive, transition for China.
For sure, I think it's always really tough. Singapore looked like they had just weaved their way through that defense way too easily, but Liu on that last line of defense, and two bladey flicks and then a hammer to finish. I think the overhead throws, obviously something that China really enjoys doing. And, oh man, like we said, very ambitious to do it in these conditions, but they do make it work out well. So I do like the fact that they're relaxed enough to go for those shots.
Huge props to China. Just when you thought again it was going to be another score for Singapore, Liu saving that for China.
I think a reflection of mentally they've actually come out of the halftime quite fresh. You know, heard their huddle, very vocal, very positive body language. I think that's a really good sign. I can, some teams could easily hang their head and be like, we're up against some tough opposition. We've been broken so many times, but great frame of mind to be in. China, still full of confidence, and that's exhibited in both their movement patterns and their throws.
Indeed, and let's see how China sets up. It looks like it'll be a match defense.
So 2-5 stack. Chu fakes the first option, but likes the second. Chio moves it up quickly to Che, and he's got a long option. Doesn't take it, instead goes to the up line. And they move it so easily and quickly that Singapore... Oh, there is a travel called. Hold up. Not quite yet. I was going to say, that took barely 10 seconds to get from one end to the other.
And just on the same side at that, Avril. So, but looks like a travel's being called. So it's going to be returning back.
Yeah.
Sideline.
Travel and also maybe a pick as well. Either way, the teams resolve it. I think China just letting that upline open side off too easily. There we go. They force Singapore to go the break around, and they lose some meters. And they lose a few more meters. Oh, and that's a drop there. Singapore, China, one or out. Are they going to get this one? Throw, break. Incredible comeback by China.
Amazing response again, as you can see, in those 2 consecutive points, right? It's just quickly sending it as fast as they can without letting Singapore set it up. As you can see there, 2 points straight for China.
Wow, this looked just like a regulation catch. Show maybe just a little bit slippery or was thinking about the next throw. Immediate confidence to just huck that disc immediately off to Zhang Heng. And China with a 1-throw conversion can't get much more efficient like this. So interesting, we thought that was the score up the other end, but turns out there was a travel call, brought the disc back, and then a turn happens. So gosh, this whole point probably lasting less than a minute, but plenty of action.
Plenty of action at that for sure. And that the camera work, Zhang Heng, all smiles for China. Again, already bridging the gap so far. 2 straight points. See if they can take another one here.
Yeah, so the China D-line looking to continue this intensity. And a little bit of delay with the pickup of the disc, but Singapore again get things moving, and they're really liking the high release to the break side. It's working beautifully for them. Chu now. Cho offers a dump cut. Doesn't like it, so does eventually use Cho. Loses meters to gain meters. And it looks a big, doesn't throw it. Ho holsters Cho. And a nice around backhand, but there is a pick called.
That was a really tight pass there to be able to give a forward pass. Amazing, amazing, amazing skill.
Disc skills from Singapore on full display. I love how the shape of the discs have so much control. I mean, China's as well, you know, looking at those bladey flicks the previous point. But I think the other, we'll talk in a minute as we talk about the play. So Cho working that open side dump, and this upline power by Chu almost to the end zone. And a nice race to the front cone. Singapore, smooth as butter. Beautifully done. Very nice score.
Great clean hold there for Singapore, right? And just, I think, being able to, I was thinking if they were going to call a timeout just to try to stop the momentum, but I think that's a greater response, just being able to put a cap on that small fire that China was building.
Yeah, so Cho doing a mountain of work. Cho and Chu working together so well on this line. I think China going to have to put a little bit more effort into closing that open side. They're being beaten on the open side, both from the downfield cutters and from the upline strikes. So they need to force Singapore to throw those break options a little bit more. It's too easy on the open side at the moment.
Interesting to see again. So, 2-point lead for Singapore. See if they can maintain this.
And that was Bei-Shi Hui, who, that was her second goal to go with 1 assist. So already 3 stats on the board, leading the count for Singapore. Bei-Shi Hui having a game. Big pull goes up from Go Jia Yu. Nice float on this one. China again with a horizontal set, 3 handlers back.
Again, zone defense, Singapore.
Chen with the disc, stall count rising, just a little reset. And goes a big option, but I don't think the receiver was on the same page. Looks like Yang Guangguo had just turned the other way or lost sight of the disc as it went up.
Miscommunication there as China hander had power position. That's why he decided to rip it through, but
and again, that high release to the break side, slides to her knees, but well trapped by Go. Dumps back. So again, a lot of space for the handlers to work with. Just centers the disc. Little shimmy up to reset. Now on the far side, Go with the high release of her own to dump. And there is a call. Looks like there's a pick in the stack. So Isaac Tan just getting a little bit suspiciously free. So Ong with the disc. And the cuts will come from the front of the stack. Oh, and Go after working so well. That one falls out of hands. There is a bit of a pause. check if there was a call here.
And I think that's what she's checking in where the contact is, but rubbing on her side of her head just to see if that was the reason. But let's look at the replay just to check what happened there.
Oh, maybe got cleated to the face.
They're just checking, I think, more of us just...
Okay, so there's an injury call now after people have started moving. So maybe she thought she was all right to go and then got up and went, oh, maybe not. So well-deserved rest. I think she did a great job with the pull and then was involved in a lot of that play to make sure that the resets and the movements were still smooth. So China now back on offense.
Again, Singapore zone defense. Full display. Great communication so far.
So China using the width of the field. They've got to swing it to this close side now. But this is where Singapore looking to trap the disc. And how they're going to get past this cup. They're going to throw through the cup.
I think there's some more tighter communications in the cup there. Just missing some players were being too open.
What a layout grab. A beautiful save there. And China progressed forward. Chen Yefan with the disc. Trapped very close to the sideline.
I think they're here on this side. There's more communication. Go ahead.
There's minuscule meters there. I think Singapore are saying that they handed off the disc, indicating a turnover, I think. So it'll be an interesting conversation.
But just look, I guess it looks like that's going to be the discussion.
Yeah, so Zheng and Chen working together in that handler space, both of them cutting into the cup. But they were so close together, it kind of looked like the disc wasn't actually released before it was caught. It looked like it was a handoff. And I think they're definitely fair to make a call and have a chat about that one. It was very close to call live. But either way, I think Singapore have done well. They have trapped China to this close sideline, which is exactly what they want.
But I think there's going to be a communication that does need to be here with the second wall of Singapore and those of the cup to know what space are they trying to cover. I see there's a little bit of gap between that, and that's the reason why China has been able to exploit that small little gap right behind the cup.
Just over the cup. And forcing backwards. Chen now on this close sideline. He's having a lot of trouble getting off, so has to go back to Zheng. So they've lost about 15 meters or so. And now they go a higher risk option, and that is the turnover. So Singapore zone again, very reliable, generating these turn options, and they are going very quickly upfield. Easy pass for the score and the goal. That is double happiness for Deborah Lee, getting the block and the goal.
11-8 there, and just where Singapore wanted China to convert or to make that error is that very high risky swing pass.
Joyous energy from the Singapore team. They are absolutely up and about. Still got the energy to go for a jump celebration. Well coordinated as well.
Deborah, number 7, all smiles there. See, look at the replay.
And I love that the female matching players, Amelia Pock there with the assist, getting it done together with Lee. So the D-line of Singapore, often the front wall, having to churn side to side, getting some reward for their effort.
That's a second point of Deborah in this game. Actually, that will be a 6 point overall in this tournament. So excellent showing from Deborah so far.
And so it does feel like Singapore has the ascendancy, and when I actually look at the score sheet, that's only their first break of this second half, but it feels like they've been much more dominant than that, doesn't it, John?
Exactly right. I mean, in terms of just unable to convert some of the turnovers that they were to generate, but there, I mean, just showing how quickly they can respond once they generate that turnover. Here, Singapore off to the races with that ball.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a very similar zone D structure here. China have got to find a way to try and get it off the trap sideline. That's really the key.
I think that bullet was by design, where you want want a little bit of a roller of a goal so that you can, as you can see, set up your defense because of that. So
Yeah, that's
excellent
static.
goal.
Yeah, that static start, right? So you can set your position in the cup, really make it difficult for them to get that break around.
You can see Niven now featuring in that cup. Excellent place where to be to bother the China team.
So Lille now on the far side. They do work it across to use the width, working together with Chen. There's a call.
It's going to be huge for Singapore. That's where you want them. Niven, especially Niven with those long arms bothering the handler for China. We'll see how China can escape from this.
Yeah, so Chat Stalls coming in on 2. Chen disc. Oh, quick high release. I like that look. And they like to fake those high releases. It is effective to make the marks move. Slices through the cup. Beautiful way to penetrate. Now caught on this sideline. Just small ball inside the cup using those crashes. Goes a higher risk, but that's a nice bladey shape. Always trust in Newer.
Oh, that's just so spicy, but Newer able to take advantage with the huge
Dong now with the bladey flick to Newer. And target, big target in the end zone for the score. China have to work it hard, but they do come up to bring it to 9-11.
Indeed, right? And just putting a lot of faith to Newer there to bring it in for China. As you mentioned earlier, you predicted it. Looks like he's going to be the main guy, really, for this China team if they're going to look to win it, mount a comeback and win it for China.
Here he goes. Big fella there with the sticky gloves, sticky mitts. Like we said, one of the older players and more experienced players on this team.
Indeed, and like 4.5 years, that's still young for an ultimate career, so to speak. And despite that, doesn't look like it in terms of his skill and his experience in full display. And athleticism at that.
Very curious. I'm sure he's played some other sports before Frisbee, right? So be very interesting to know what his athletic background is. But yeah, also wanted to point out, Jonathan, interesting differences in terms of the zone offense. So Singapore, their way of getting through the zone offense is to actually move the disc from side to side, so around, back side to side, and then utilize through the cup. Whereas China, they're actually opting just to go above the cup. So a lot of those high release throws are getting them out of trouble. But Singapore now on offense. Vertical stack, a nice upfield cut. Cash now comes across to Chu. Back to Chio. And an upline strike just looked off. The fill comes around. She's got to get low, not low enough. The ground beats them all. Immediately pick up by China. A big shot goes up. That's plenty of blade, but falls into the lap. And China, again with the very quick pickup after the turn. Liang there with the score, and China are up and about.
You can see the loud cheers from China, egging their team on as they are now putting or removing or decreasing the deficit to just 1 now. And it looks like just from Singapore, just asking too much for their teammates as you look at that replay that forced the turnover.
So there's only 1 break in it, John, but time is going to start running down as well. I mean, the points have been quite efficient overall. I don't think there's been too many multi-turnover or grinds or anything like that. And I think partially in part to China's long game, especially when they get the turnover, they really like to look to huck it. And so those kind of efficient scores means that they do have time to peg it back. I just don't know if it's going to be likely given the pace of the game.
I think something to adjust for Singapore, if I'm the coaches, is to have to do a better job on transition D. To have to do a better job there in terms of trying to stop that quick offense that China did. As you can see, those 2 points, right? Once they got the turnover off the races for them, and they were able to generate those 2 points.
It's really hard because they turned it over kind of as a handler dump, so everyone's behind the disc. And, you know, kudos to China for taking advantage, knowing that, hey, you're going to have a one-on-one matchup downfield. But we see Singapore now, a nice upline strike. Power position again, another upline strike looked off in favour of a nice inside space here. And they've got the break side to work with, so plenty of paddock. First options aren't available. Stall count, oh, and the timeout is called.
Amazing presence of mind. You're just also going to say the stall count was rising, but instead of just hawking its far end, decided to call a timeout and try to formulate the play out of this.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good call. I don't think Singapore have used any timeout so far in this match. So I think, you know, I think the first maybe 3 options were already covered. So well done to China for that really high energy defense. As we said, up and about after that last score. It's interesting, I think, maybe China a bit of an energy team. Seems like when they are up and going and full of confidence, they're playing well. But then they start to kind of pull back and hesitate a little, and that's when the mistakes are occurring.
See, it looks like probably you would have, like, given that, probably has to have 4 or maybe 3 stall counts left before to make a play. So interesting to see how they're going to, you know, set the stack up. Is it going to be a side stack here to see? But just 4 counts or 3, just too short to generate anything out there, Avril. What do you think?
Yeah, my bet is either the classic handler weave, so a stack very far away and the 3 handlers, or their 1-6, which they've used really effectively on a couple of other end zone plays.
Take a look at that.
But yeah, interesting to know what the stall count, it must be coming in on 6 or 7, right?
Probably. My guess is good as yours, and see how Joe, just looking at quickly, looks like, indeed, looks like it to be a handler. We're going to expect a handler weave here. As you can see, Joe with a handler right behind them. So let's see how that action develops.
Yeah, and I'm sure the front of stack here, it's Doreen Sim in the front of stack. She's looking like she's ready to take the disc on.
Oh,
goes across.
Amazing out of after timeout play there, Avril.
And there's going to be a call now. Some discussion about something in the stack.
But that's an amazing after timeout play there, knowing that if the front option is not available, just a quick throw to space for the easy swing.
One thing I wanted to highlight about the way Singapore throw is that they're always throwing it to the advantage of the receiver, but the receiver's always catching it in flow. So they're never having to stop and catch. They're always running on to catch it so that they can do the next throw very quickly. As we see here in stride, he just slows down, establishes a pivot, and could easily have thrown the next one. But as we get in play, on the doorstep, that's an overthrow, but the scraps are picked up by Singapore. And they edge away, 12-10. That was a crucial offensive hold, John.
And that's all to Joe there, recognizing the stall count was rising and calling a timeout to be able to rally the troops and get them out of a hole there. They didn't want to see them get scored again.
Yeah, knowing that China had started to gain a little bit of momentum, a little bit of a spark, very important to kind of stamp that out before it started to escalate. As we see here, beautiful fakes, beautiful way to move the mark by Dorcas yet. And that one, probably not the intended catch point by Chio, but he does manage to keep eyes on the disc, and they had plenty of backup as well.
I think that's poetic that Cho was the one to able to score there, as he was the one to call the right play, which is a timeout to save the offensive point for Singapore.
And yes, and Cho has been pretty big on the stats as well. He's been present on the stats with the 1 assist and the 1 goal, but it does feel like he's been strongly involved in a lot of these points.
Indeed, and been with the Freak Show club team since 2013. Has been part of the WCC 2018 team for Singapore as well. So definitely exciting to see his play here at AOUC.
Pool goes up. Team China now looking for a clean hold. They get some nice meters gains on that first pass. And the nice undercut here, that's looked off in favor of a small dump. Bit of small ball to work with, 1-2, Nua and Dong. Now they look for some meters. Nua now in the backfield, so forcing him to come backwards and throw rather than receive. I think that's a good way to mitigate that risk. But there is a call, and I think it might be a pick downfield.
Indeed. And I think that's really a testament of Noor, where he's not settling in for those long shots, right? He's going to help his team in whichever position he can put himself into.
Yeah, Jovin Chong with the matchup on Nuer. Oh, and hot defense there. But Lille manages to snare it. Comes back for the dump now. Fakes it off, looking for the open side. Wanting the dumps to move. Everyone moving into the space. Eventually moves it off. And they find Nuer on the far sideline. Has a completely poached dump here. Chen goes all the way back. Nuer. And not much movement upfield at all. So having to find handles. But as I say that, Nuer finds a tiny sliver of space on the sideline. He now centers. Pan engages a dump. Dong almost gets a distance face and a big hammer across. Nuer v Chong. Chong comes up trumps. So I called that earlier. Chong with the big assignment on Nuer, driving Nuer to go behind the disc, forcing him out to the sideline with very, very little space. Eventually here, manages to get the block.
Amazing. It's a matchup of the ages between those two players. As you look at the replay, another spicy hammer brought about.
And the disc goes in play now. Singapore make meters quickly. And more than halfway now. Ong, big fake for the long. Throws a short. Ho is looking on that open side. But oh, that break. How did it escape the defender?
Whew.
Lots of shimmying. And the inside. And that's a block. China again. Last line of defense. Big Huck. Nuer in the space. Chong competing in the air. Nuer single hand. Quick flip for the score.
Amazing display of athleticism from Noor despite the pressure. I am gasping for air after the exciting play there, Avril.
My goodness, it's just a flurry of activity. You know, Singapore working it up so well. And this just swatting it away. I think that might have been Lille there with the D, but immediate throw all the way up that float. And Jovin Chong, Nuer, this matchup has been fantastic to watch. I don't know how Nuer managed to get his hands on that disc. That was an incredible play.
Noor, with no regard of human life there, with the amazing on-the-top play. Holy moly.
Huge kudos to Lille as well, who got that block, just managed to spot it away, knew that they were sneaking for that inside channel, but she also gunned her way all the way downfield. She was in the space as the scraps is ever going to come.
To be honest, I thought he had a chance of the play. I thought he was going to get that D, but props to Noor, athleticism on point.
Props to Nuer, props to Lille. And Singapore now with a big huck. They're looking for Cher. Two in the space. Cher with the bubble, and there's going to be a foul call.
Ooh, two twisty plays there. Ay, ay, ay. Singapore looking for a huge play of their own there. It looks like this is a discussion about a foul.
Yep, absolutely. So Chu puts a big one up, showing that Singapore also have a long game. You see Cher is in the space. So held the space. There is some arm contact over the shoulder here by Yang. And I think that'll be, I think Raymond Cher saying, look, that arm over the shoulder and back pushed me forward. Caused some contact, affected my ability to catch that disc.
More of him pushing forward, more of his ability to jump up right there. As he put that little arm really, I would think, affected his ability to catch that disc.
And really crucial point here, Singapore is one break up. So, you know, China, they're throwing everything at this game, really trying to put pressure on this Singapore offense. It's been a real interesting, you know, momentum shift throughout this game. One team getting some ascendancy, getting loud, getting high energy, and then the other team coming back. So I'm sure there's plenty of twists and turns still yet to come, John.
Indeed, and I think we're seeing this display of big plays that's causing, or that's making the momentum shift to one team to another, right? And I think this is going to be huge for this point, right? In terms of for both teams.
And remember, both teams have made the quarterfinals. Just about which quarter they fall in, who their opponents are for their next match. It's a, very draining conditions to play in at the moment. You're wet and you're cold. You're working so hard for these blocks, layouts, sky balls. But yeah, interesting. We haven't seen a lot of Singapore's long game, right? They've been relying on their small ball, which has been very successful. But it definitely feels like a lot of Singapore's scores, it's taking longer to achieve. Whereas China, when they're going for the big shot, it's a very kind of efficient and quick point.
Right.
So maybe some of that, pressure of China scoring quickly, Singapore's having to work harder, maybe that's also affected some of how this
Correct.
game is transpiring.
Exactly. I think that's something why they opted to do for a long play there.
So they've contested the call and the disc will come back to Chu. This time goes for an upline option. And again, making use of this open side. Ho, nice around break. They use the width. Now center with Chu. Another break. A good attack here from Yet to keep disc in hand. Chu on the axis. Cher on the far side. Fakes. Comes back. Moves, shimmies, pivots, throws. And again, Singapore very patient with the disc. Chu waiting for things to open up, and it does via Cher. And from the second time of asking after that contested call, Raymond Cher scores the point for Singapore.
Amazing patience moving from one side to another. To be tipped off or be wrapped up by Cher for his score to bring Singapore up 2 now.
Yeah, so Singapore maintaining that break point advantage at the moment. China, they've got to really settle in for a clean hold now and then try and gear up for a big break.
That will actually be Cher's third point in this game, leading the pack for Singapore. We'll see how China responds here.
And credit to Cher for absolutely putting in the work today. We saw earlier on in that first half, he'd been asked to play multiple points in a row, both on offense and defense. And I think, like we said, he was a real key in unlocking a lot of those break points in the first half to keep their noses ahead now.
And here.
But I think Liu on China, number 11, she's been amazing alongside Newer and, very stable handler in Dong and Chen and Zheng as well. So,
Correct.
China's also got some very reliable players who have the ability to make some big plays.
If I'm a betting man, a zone defense is going to be present itself here by Singapore, given the lineup that I'm seeing here from their D-line.
So just slowly walking it up to the disc. Team China, very static downfield, but they do find an undershot. Dump backwards. Pan moves to Dong. To Pan again through the cup, but no continuation. So they get that first shot through the cup, but nothing afterwards. They haven't quite positioned themselves. That's a very cheeky, almost vertical flick blade. And very close D, but China squeeze it through. And that is a float and a chat about a foul, perhaps.
Perhaps there, but prior to that, I thought Singapore had a chance there to take a D. Let's see what's the discussion here, Abra. I'm not sure what has happened.
Yeah, the disc was moving so quickly and the players were moving so quickly. There must have been some kind of body contact, but didn't see from the throw of activity. So this vertical blade, almost a rainbow shape. And it moves quickly. So that was a sniff there. And yeah, maybe some contact. He thinks that the player obstructed him from making a play, I think.
That's what it looks like here, and that's the cause of discussion between Singapore and China about that play. So we'll take a look.
Yeah, so you see some of the other games concluding now. And everyone trying to keep somewhat dry in these wet conditions. But interestingly, the forecast is going to be very warm tomorrow, John.
I hope so. I think you know the sound of my voice that I'm looking forward to a bright sunny day. It's been raining so hard for these past few days. I can only imagine the players, how they're feeling
Yeah.
in these two excruciating days, and also the volunteers as well, who are around doing the camera work. So
Yeah, I think in the hotel corridors yesterday, there were just a bunch of cleats and shoes all lined up, everyone trying to get things dry and ready for today, but I don't think we've really succeeded. So maybe tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to get some dry shoes.
or probably they just wanted to showcase their shoes.
Yeah.
And we're back here momentarily.
And there's a timeout called. So crucial point in the game, 13-11. Singapore looking to try to extend their lead into the final part of this game. China, in the meantime, trying to peg one back and remain in this one to score at the top in their pool. What do you think Team China will be discussing?
I think it's just about, you know, just trying to calm themselves and look, we don't really have to make these very risky passes against the zone, right? If there's something they want to copy from Singapore teams, it's just be calm and collected, try to swing it back and forth if needed to. I think that's just really what we need to discuss here. And they're really near their end zone at this point. So I think just being really extra careful with their pass and then be able to score, because it's 13-11 now, right? If they let Singapore score here, it's going to be really tough for them to mount a comeback.
I think it's interesting. We talked about the differences that the zone offense have in terms of working through a zone, right? I think China's default is reliant on their throws. Like, they want to just be able to throw it to someone. I think it's that positioning. They seem to be able to get that first throw off, like, you know, into the cup or just past the cup. But it's that next throw. I don't think there's optimum positioning of that next shot.
It's excellent point there, Avril. I think the next position is where they're lacking and something they can improve and look forward at this point. But again, they gotta score this one. If they let Singapore take over here, 14-11, and being Singapore as one of the most clutch teams we've seen in this nation, in this region rather, goes without saying, China's gotta score here.
Yeah, for sure. And they have a very good opportunity. Dong, very reliable handler. Interestingly, we've got Nua here, but Dong in the dump space, reliable handler. Is shaking the water off the disc. Oh, and some nice shimmying movement to get free from the front of stack. That one will be a foul on the throat.
Looks like they've switched to a match person defense here.
Yeah, I think that's a good call when you've got, you know, red zone to try and defend.
I think another discussion, as we've seen this very consistently throughout this game, discussion on the manner of the physicality.
Yes, a lot of contact discussions, yeah. And on the mark, I think, quite a few, as well as the downfield. So Pan here, marked by Ng. He goes a big bladey flick that does, in the end, fall into the palms of Team China. So after a couple of discussions and a timeout, they do convert that hold.
2 timely timeouts, one for Singapore able to score that, now here for China, equally perfect timeout, right? So 13-12.
We take a look here. So again, China using the shaped throws. So they just led their receiver into that space despite some, oh, that's really crafty disc work there. I like that celebration. But yes, you know, you had some defenders coming in for that help defense. You know, just half a second more, they would have got there.
Noticing some, I think before we pan it over here to the team, I think some of the game advisors as well as the captains between two teams are now having a discussion there. Probably discussions about the physicality in terms of how we can control that, perhaps.
Yeah.
But interesting to see how that conversation looks like.
Yeah, we know with the spirit of the games, one of the categories is body contact. And so, you know, teams having to ascertain what is acceptable in this specific game. And yeah, it looks like the spirit captains are having a discussion to try and determine what is acceptable between these two teams for the remainder of this game.
And I love that about this sport, right? Given what's in line here, there's that good room to have that healthy discussion about, look, let's try not to forget what's important here, which is the spirit of the game, despite the high intensity.
Yes.
Put that in front as always.
Yep, for sure. Singapore O-line setting things up with the vert stack. It's a nice undercut, turns around for a deep, opts for the dump. Inside shot, lovely upfield. Cher this time stays back in the handler space, working together with Teo.
Excellent movement from the Singapore players here.
Oh, and despite full attempt there on the bid, Singapore turn it over. Feels like a very rare occurrence. China, they don't look for the long option initially. They go for a short, and oh, this one's going to be overthrown. Will there be scraps? No. Singapore breathe a sigh of relief. That opportunity goes begging, John.
Begging indeed. No scraps picked up there from China. Singapore, chance to increase their lead.
So Cher and Toe in the backfield. Now Bay comes up to Phil. Sorry, Sim.
Ooh,
oh!
Amazing layout. D, as I caught that up.
Whew. Jeez, it's getting hot in here, babe.
Indeed, as I got a little bit in something in between because just was shortly amazed about that layout bid attempt. As we take a look at that, the replay.
So Sim here gets a dish. Oh, and disc comes back in Cher, working hard on the dump. Now Cho moving backwards. The next one is Sim. So this handler weave working effectively for Singapore. Continue to Doris. Yet that's going to be an overthrow, but the scraps are saved. Singapore still with disc in hand. That's call.
But amazing presence of mind to keep that play alive.
That Fabian Ho, well done on tracking that disc. I thought that was going to be a turnover and China with another opportunity, but Fabian Ho now on the doorstep. Cher, dump. Oh, dump and swing. Easy as you like. Cho there with the score. Ginny Cho, number 18 for Singapore. First one on the board of this game. And after China earned that turnover, they will be ruining that missing opportunity.
Indeed, right? That pass that was a little too fast for their teammates. And now, China rather, but Singapore, point away from calling it a day.
Ooh, and that was a crucial point in this game. And I think, you know, that's probably an example of the slight difference here with the Singapore team having much more world international experience, able to remain composed and convert their opportunities. China, you know, they haven't been, you know, down and out. Like, they've been up and about. They've been able to get opportunities. They've converted some of them, but some of these other ones a little bit, you know, given away a little bit too easily.
Correct. And I think whoever Singapore was really excellent there is how they can initiate the poor man's dump and be able to attack the break side. That has always been successful so far when they're trapped on one side. So here we go with Singapore.
So it is game point Singapore, but China will start on offense. And looks like a standard horizontal set from Singapore. They work it up to this close side. Wang. Disc in hand, waits for the dump. Small one back to Dong. Close side, and here goes the big option. Nuer, Liu. In the air, Nuer comes out on top. Single-handed poster boy grab.
Bang, bang, bang. Nuer saves the day again for China. Wow, wee.
Comes out clutch in these big moments. He is the man. My goodness, that is stat number 5 for the day. 4 goals to go with the 1 assist.
And I actually was looking at where he was positioned and was thinking already, it looks like it's going to be sent to him.
And you see Daryl Ho here gets very good body position, but Nuer just manages to nudge him a little bit under, and that was enough to secure that one. Incredible play by Nuer.
Clutch play from Nuer. But now, as you can see, it looks like he's going to stay at this point now. Given the crucial, it's just, they got to definitely, I mean, this is one more point for Singapore and definitely understand why he's going to stay here. Pulling out the stops.
Yeah, like you say, this is game point for Singapore, and this time they start on offense. Nuo with the pulling duties here. And on the Singapore line, no surprises, Che out again. We have Chu, we have Chio. Very far away stack.
Going to say here, going to give a lot of... Oh, amazing grab to pick it up for Singapore.
Che versus Nuo, I like that matchup, but Singapore swing it side to side. Chu now will on the closer sideline. Evolving play, doesn't like the initial looks. Upline strike. Cho. There is some chat about the contact on the mark again.
A little bit could agree there with Joe, as like I think no space to move for him. Again, intensity, and it looks like it's going to be accepted.
Yeah, I think just stepped over and kind of straddled the thrower, Chio, there. So, Nuo versus Chio, very interesting matchup, John. We'll see how this evolves. So, Chio now. Chio comes all the way back.
Dangerous one-hand grab.
Yeah, just working with his handler with Chio up to Chu. Chu takes it down. Again, just squeezing it through that upline space. And Singapore with the win, working that open side. Come up trumps against China, 15-13.
And this is an amazing game between these two nations. Just with Singapore prevailing there with a 2-point lead. Great display of athleticism, strategy all throughout in this game here, Avril.
Yeah, showing their class. You know, they were just one above in regards to managing the conversions and managing the energy and emotions. I don't think they let themselves dip too much. They were able to work hard, churn away, continue building pressure on China. In the end, China, a couple of execution and decision errors in the end are crucial. But when you're playing at this level, sometimes that's all it is between winning and losing a game.
Indeed, and that's going to dictate as Singapore will round it out pool plays, the #1 in their division. So something to look forward to in terms of how their playoffs will look like, or road to gold rather.
Yeah, I think it's looking like China, having lost this game, will go up against Akala, one of the Japanese club teams, as we see that beautiful finish here from Ho. In the end, I think Singapore using that open side space, China just weren't able to shut it down enough. And that was the difference in terms of a lot of that smooth, buttery Singapore offense. And so we will wrap things up here. Rainy day 3 for AOUC, but we do have sunshine forecast on the horizon. Let's hope that the heat is going to turn up for when we get into bracket play. This is Avril Cham, Jonathan Santos, signing off.